Well, hey everybody, John Ritlin here, and this is a real lost rant about WWE's bloated roster, because holy fuck is it a bloated roster. Good fucking Christ is it ever. Now, just came across the wire today that Luke Harper has requested his release from WWE. Can't fucking blame him. I'm going to start off with that just a little bit. Luke Harper should have been utilized as a single star a whole lot better than he was. Now, I admit that I'm not saying he should have been WWE champion. Sure, Intercontinental champion, fine. But let's take a look at where it all went wrong for him. And then let's take a look, dive really deep, or as deep as I can, into how WWE has pretty much shot themselves in the foot here. They got a lot of TV and they got a lot of stuff, but they got certain ways they want to go with certain stories. They wanted to go with Bray versus Orton at Mania 33 for some reason, even though that feud wasn't all that great. But let's look at what they did with Luke Harper. So you had Luke Harper, and Luke Harper was getting over as a single star in early 2017, and somebody they could have at least put into this feud. The crowd was starting to chant, Luke, Luke. They were starting to really latch onto him. He was getting over. He was over as a babyface. Sure, he wasn't going to win the title. There was no way he was going to win the title. But if they had put him into that match, if they had had it be Harper versus Bray versus Orton, you could have had Harper take the pin. Bray would have been upset, and then he could have gone after the title for a little bit, lost in a rematch to Orton or something like that. But at least Harper would have gotten a Mania moment, because they had some momentum with him. But what did they do instead? They took him off TV for a number of months and everything, repackaged him, the whole Bludgeon Brothers thing, that kind of stuff. It just went absolutely goddamn nowhere. I know he's had injuries. He just recently came back from I believe a wrist injury, wrist surgery, something like that. But let's take a look at what they did with him after the Bludgeon Brothers. That gimmick was pretty much DOA anyway, even though myself and Durbinair like making fun of the entrance. Those two worked well together, but Harper could have been a single star, and he should have been. And that's kind of where I'm coming up with on this bloated roster thing. Harper here wasn't going to get over as any more much an Intercontinental champion, or the idea that I just mentioned. But let's take a look at some other people that they've signed. Some women that they've signed. They got a bunch of women in NXT, and I'll dive into all the aspects of the women of the women's division on NXT, NXT UK, Raw, SmackDown, this kind of stuff. Probably sometime later this week or sometime next week, I will have a rant up about that, and it will be diving into how they need to use their women a whole lot better, because the women should be featured a whole lot better, not just in throwaway 2-3 minute matches. But they have a whole lot of women that they've signed that they do absolutely nothing with on TV. I don't necessarily care for Dana Brooke, but Dana Brooke's at least trying. Don't have her cut promos, for the love of God. But at least, she actually got some cheers at the WrestleMania 35 Women's Battle Royal. You had other women that were in there that were pretty good. You have Ember Moon, somebody who just came back from, I believe it was elbow surgery or something like that. And she is somebody that could be used pretty damn well. She was sort of used okay, but instead they focused on Charlotte, Becky, and Ronda. Now, I'm not doubting that all three of those women didn't put in the work and still continue to put in the work. I mean, Ronda's currently injured and stuff like that. And, especially with a broken hand, it's going to be difficult for her to cut off her hair and wash Sasha's feet with it, or anyone's feet. And I will never let that line go, because it's going to haunt Ronda, as it should. But Becky, Charlotte, yes, two premier athletes, not just female wrestlers, wrestlers in general. They are two premier athletes. Charlotte has really done well, breaking out of her dad's shadow, even though they still ever doing the woo and all that stuff. She's still becoming her own person, doing well, did great in the Mania 35 main event. And I'm not knocking that those women didn't deserve that spot. They did. The main event should have been women. Even though I can understand the argument that Kofi versus Bryan maybe had a better built story. I did a rant on that at one point. It was like a rapid fire or something like that, and I totally get why people felt that way, as long as they were more invested in one story than the other. That's totally cool. To say that the women didn't deserve it because they were women, that's fucking bullshit, and you know it. But so many women have been pushed down the card. Natty's been there for a number of years. It is what it is. Natty's pretty much in her role where she's just going to be mid-card, and that's okay. As much as I love Natty, that's probably where she should be. Getting one more title run, sure. Ember, she should hopefully get a title run at some point. And I'm not saying just put the title on everybody, put it on for a month and take it off and that kind of stuff. Naomi's on Raw. We can see what happens there. But there are some women that they are pushing that just aren't very good, like Carmella and stuff like that. And I mean, Mickey hasn't even been used all that well. Alexa hasn't been wrestling all that much, except I guess maybe on house shows, possibly. But they have a ton of the Riot Squad. Liv, who is not an expert in the ring, but is at least capable and is better than she has been. She gets beat constantly. Sarah Logan gets beat constantly, even though she was in the final two of that battle royal. Ruby, who is the breakout star of the group, even though I think you could have Ruby and Sarah as 1 and 1A, because Sarah could be a great enforcer, and Ruby is somebody that is definitely talented. They haven't done all that much with her, and plenty of other women. And the whole point is they have plenty of women in NXT, NXT UK, Raw, SmackDown that deserve to be used better. And I'm not suggesting they should release any women, but they got to do better with it. They got to do better with the tag team division. And nothing against the Iconics. I love the fact the Iconics are won the championships at WrestleMania 35. That's absolutely great. They just need to establish those titles better going forward. Not just the Iconics, I mean creative in general. But you get there's just so many short segments, pointless segments, and the women are scripted horribly, and they deserve to be scripted better. Let's get off this topic here for this and talk about the fact that WWE has been in signing mode since, pretty much since the network got launched, really, because that's really when NXT took off and all that stuff, and Raw, SmackDown, Raw being at 3 hours and stuff like that, and then wanting to run more house shows and running more network events and have everybody under contract. They essentially want to do it to hurt the competition. They want to have everybody under contract to hurt the competition. You know what company did that? WCW. You want to know what happened to WCW? They ain't around any fucking more. Now, WCW is not going to... WWE is not going to end up like WCW. I'm not trying to say that. WWE's got a better pay structure and a better, financial structure and better planning and smarter people in power. Even though you can't tell with some of the shit that Vince has been doing. The Viking experience, everybody. Yeah, that's a thing that unfortunately happened on Raw. That was pretty goddamn shit. But there are many similarities. A lot of similarities between what WCW did and what WWE did. Or is at least doing right now. WCW signed everybody under contract, and the problem is even though they have Nitro, they also had Thunder. And then they had WCW Saturday Night, and they had WCW Pro and Worldwide, and that kind of stuff. Well, Worldwide, I don't know if Pro was going. They had Worldwide. They had they had some syndication programming, and they had, live stuff that they needed to do, even though Thunder often was taped and then shown later. They had so many people under contract, people got frustrated and left, and either went to WCW, or went from WCW to WCW, went from ECW, or to ECW, or even to WWE, mostly WWE. There were a lot of people that went to work the independents and everything instead of being in WCW, leaving that guaranteed money or taking an opportunity in WWE. And yes, once WCW and ECW went away, there was a whole lot less options. There were, various independents and stuff like that, but not all that much. So a lot of people just wanted to go with WWE to make that money, or go to New Japan. New Japan was still doing pretty well, even though they would enter a dark period soon afterwards. The whole point is WCW bred a lot of contempt in their roster by signing everybody and not giving everybody opportunities, or if they got opportunities, they would have the legs cut out from under them. Like the Chris Jericho-Goldberg feud. Do not tell me that wasn't Jericho getting the legs cut out from under him. Do not tell me that is not how it worked. That's how it fucking worked. Their women's division was fucking scrapped. I mean, they had Medusa and they had a few others. They had the Nitro girls over there, and nothing against the Nitro girls. None of them should have been wrestling. But you had Medusa there, who was still under contract, despite retiring 2 years before that, and I think was actually still under contract till sometime in 2000. She was one of the best women's wrestlers that has ever been, and one, at least in my personal opinion. And then you go to when WWE was trying to create competition with Raw, SmackDown, that kind of stuff. So WCW did a whole bunch of stuff by breeding contempt, signing everybody under contract, and only giving it to the old guys. And by the time they had a chance to give it to the newer talents, people were ready to fucking leave. And no one fucking cared because their favorites kept getting beat down. So between the Raw and SmackDown, the original brand split and stuff like that, they had a women's title between both shows. And then later they had the Divas Championship and the WWE Women's Championship, which, okay, whatever. Well, actually, let's see. Yeah, and then they had a unification match and all that kind of stuff. A lot of it was really messy. But you had not a great depth of women there, or at least women that were getting on TV. But at least they were getting on TV. And then you take a look at how the women are being used now. It is better. But there are still plenty of women that aren't getting their opportunities. Then you take a look from 2014 to now, WWE has been signing people like crazy. They signed Gallows and Anderson in 2016. How well has that fucking worked out for them? How well has that worked out for them? I mean, they got paid well, and that's great. That's the one thing. WWE, you can get a lot of money over there. They are willing to pay up the ass to get people there and then do nothing with them. Apollo is one of the best, talents that they have, at least in the ring. On the mic, yeah, he's decent, but he's great in the ring. And they've done next to nothing with him in 4 goddamn years. Gallows and Anderson, going back to them, they're former Raw Tag Team Champions. You would be forgiven if you forgot that. But one of the most over teams in New Japan. And yes, not everybody is going to be here in New Japan and here in WWE. Not everybody's going to be here in WWE and here in New Japan. It's just how it is. Not everybody's going to be on the same goddamn level no matter what company they're in. Some Ring of Honor talents flourish way more in WWE. Some Ring of Honor talents flourish way more in New Japan. Some Ring of Honor talents are at the bottom of the barrel. Except Enzo and Cass, because, well, currently they are bottom of the barrel. And that I don't get why Ring of Honor is doing that. But anyway, I digress on that. So many people are frustrated. And you can tell. People are tweeting their frustrations. Bailey Sasha tweeted their frustrations. Whether that stuff's true or not, I don't know. And I'm not going to report on it like it's true. Because I'm a wrestling fan. I'm not a reporter. Not any of that stuff. I don't claim to be anything I'm not. Though I wouldn't blame either of them for being frustrated. Would I blame a lot of women for being frustrated currently? No. Not at all. And that's how they quite frankly should feel. Frustrated with not getting the opportunities. Now, yes, getting on TV and all that stuff and everything is great. But then, and I'm throwing out AEW just really, really quickly here. Because right now, the rumor has it that they're going to get some kind of TV deal. And it's going to be announced. And it's going to be on either TBS or TNT. And it's going to be happening sometime in the announcement's going to be coming soon. And the show's going to be apparently debuting in the fall. The same Tuesday that SmackDown goes to Fox on Fridays. Fox Fridays, I assume, is what they're going to call it. That's a big deal, but seeing a wrestling company get on network TV is a big, big deal in a way where, hey, they can make comparable money, work for one company, but work for a few others to get some outside shots and not beat up their bodies nearly as much. That's going to be something that people are going to look at. And I'm not saying everybody's going to go to, AEW or AEW is going to, set the world on fire, because I don't fucking know. I don't know what's going to happen. But it is competition, and Vince should be probably scared about that because that's why he tried to quash, NWA, TNA, now Impact. But even when it was TNA, when they had their Knockouts division, the Knockouts were putting on better matches than the WWE women were. And that's not to say that WWE women were not allowed to put on good matches. They were, on occasion. But more often than not, they were treated like fucking window dressing because we were told for years and years and years, besides maybe Victoria, Molly Holly, Trish, and Lita, and I'm just focusing on that era, that everybody else didn't matter. And you had Mickie James in there. Mickie James came in a little bit later, especially after Molly Holly was gone from the company. And after Victoria's role had been pretty much diminished. But Mickie James was good. Mickie James had to go to Impact to reinvent herself and everything and show, oh yeah, I can fucking wrestle. But now Impact's trying to rebuild itself back up, and okay, I wish them nothing but the best. They have some good women on their roster. They have horrible commentary. Josh Matthews is an absolute abortion on commentary, but that being said, they still have some pretty good talent. Besides Sami Callihan. I just don't get the fucking appeal. But competition and other companies and everything is going to make WWE more desperate to keep people under contract. They tried to sign the Revival. That's why I got the Revival shirt back there. They tried to, sign the Revival to another contract or want to keep the Revival and keep them under contract because they don't want them to go anywhere, which is stupid. It's monumentally stupid to keep people and pay money if you're not going to use them. It's just wasting money. It's taking money. It's like what the Joker did in The Dark Knight Rises. Just set the pile of money on fire. That's basically what they're doing. And I'm not saying that people aren't worth the money. Quite the contrary, but Gallows and Anderson turned down a contract. The Revival apparently want to leave. Sasha and Bayley maybe want to leave, maybe don't. Luke Harper requested his release. Killian Dane put up some cryptic post. I don't think he's requesting his release. I think he's going to want to go to NXT UK. Maybe that's the possible plan. Who knows? Maybe he's going to get a singles run on SmackDown. Who the fuck knows, honestly? The whole point is, there are so many people that are frustrated, and can you blame them? NXT. The NXT women's division is kind of flat and not a fault of the talent. The tag team division is even kind of, it is what it is. Because there's only so much NXT TV. They only have 1 hour TV a week. You got 205 Live. They only got like 45 minutes a week to showcase the cruiserweight action, which isn't bad, except you have more than about 6 wrestlers that you have on the 205 Live roster. I got nothing against 205 Live, but it's operating its own little bubble, and it's not the best idea. And then you got NXT UK, which is struggling to get a big foothold outside of a few talents. And I just mean creatively, and I just mean the brand itself. I don't mean the entire roster. The entire roster, top to bottom, is really talented. But they're signing everybody to fill these brands, fill this TV time, and then they proceed to use maybe 40% of them. Like, Gable and Rude are in a tag team for absolutely no goddamn reason. And have been in a tag team for about 2 months too long. I understood until they lost the tag titles. And then they should have split up. Nakamura might as well just go back to New Japan whenever his deal's up. Rusev, if I'm AEW, if I'm a big company, I'm trying to get Rusev. Bring in Rusev, bring in Lana. Offer him some big money. Who knows what the fuck's going to happen with Ambrose? I don't have a damn clue. But there are people wanting to leave. There is so much contempt, and you can tell. You can tell in how some people tweet, even if they're trying to be in character. WWE has bred so much contempt among their goddamn roster. Like, yeah, you get it's the land of opportunity. It's this, it's this, it's this. And granted, coming out of Mania 35, you had the Iconics as women's tag team champions. Kofi as WWE champion. Becky 2 belts. And you had Rollins as Universal Champion. It's not all doom and gloom. But then you take a look at all the people that were in the Battle Royal. And you take a look at some of the people that weren't featured. Kevin Owens was not featured. Sami Zayn made his return recently. And I get why Sami Zayn maybe his return was saved for the Raw after Mania. I get that. But there are just so many people that they aren't using to their potential. And not everybody's going to be a main eventer in WWE, whether it be a man or be a woman. But it's starting to crack. The foundation's starting to crack. And the foundation's starting to crack because WWE has nobody to blame but themselves. They got a senile, stupid old bastard in charge of the company. Vince is not the creative genius that he once was thought to be. And I'm sorry, he was never really a creative genius anyway. He was lucky. He knows some things, but he doesn't know a lot. He just falls into shit. There's plenty of examples of like other times where people were called up from NXT with nothing to do. EC3, who just recently got squashed by Braun Strowman. Move him to SmackDown, have Drake Maverick as manager, and just have him go on a run or something like that, because at this point, what else are you going to do? Who knows? He might be released. He might have been released while I record this video. Who the fuck knows? I'm not wishing it, but the guy, while not fantastic in the ring, is really charismatic and good on the mic, and usually talking well and getting by with decent wrestling in the ring can get you a pretty big fucking push in WWE. Especially with a body like that. I mean, hey, the guy looks great, and Vince likes bodies. He likes guys that look great. He likes women that look great, especially if they're blonde. And that's not knocking any of the blonde women that are actually talented in WWE, or at least currently. But, like EC3 got completely squashed. Apollo, I mentioned him. He has done next to nothing. Next to nothing. Well, he won a Battle Royal. Or he won, he didn't win a Battle Royal. He won a match against Jinder Mahal right before the Battle Royal, at Mania 35. Great job. I love Apollo. But him, he's wrestling Jinder Mahal, who hasn't meant jack shit in about a year and a half. Because he was WWE champion at one point, the worst WWE champion of all time, not named Vince McMahon. But he only held it for 3 days. Jinder felt like he held it for 5 fucking years. But the Ascension, I guess, are a bad example because they were never really going to be used all that well, but they're just freaking cannon fodder. They're just comedy jobbers. Every company needs jobbers. Some people will never advance past a certain level. But if you just present people as ridiculous and just comedy and all this stuff, like the B Team, Axel and Bo Dallas were, at least jokes and everything, and it was supposed to be stupid, but the fact is it got really stale really fast because these were two guys. Dallas, former NXT champion, could have been taken seriously. Axel, former Intercontinental champion, could have maybe been taken seriously, and they can do comedy decently. But they're examples of guys that probably could flourish somewhere else. Same with Ryder. I mean, I know Ryder and Hawkins are the current Raw Tag Team champions, but so many people could be used better in other companies, and it's starting to become obvious that they're getting paid well in WWE, and that's great. Earn your money, do well, because there's only a certain amount of years and a certain amount of bumps that the body has before everything breaks down. Father Time is undefeated. Man or woman, doesn't matter. When your time's up, your time ain't now. And no, we're not talking about John Cena, even though that was a weird, segue. There are just people that I think are fed up, and we're going to see a mass exodus from WWE. And quite frankly, can you blame them? I can't fucking blame them. I just can't blame them. They are not going to be the end-all, be-all when New Japan, AEW, if it really takes off and everything, who knows if it will. Ring of Honor is even throwing out some money, though I don't know who the fuck would want to go to Ring of Honor after they pretty much shit the bed at G1. I mean, outside of like Bandito, Jeff Cobb, and a couple others, the company itself shit the bed. Except maybe the Honor Rumble wasn't all that bad. But the whole point is in a lot of their big stuff, especially like with the women that they had there. I mean, I love Kelly Klein and Mayu Iwatani. They did as good as they could. But yeah, they shit the bed with the aftermath stuff, because no one wanted to see Angelina and Velvet Sky, because they were past their prime years before, after their time in Impact was done. But there's a place for everybody in various companies, and if people have the dream to go to WWE after being on the Indies or being in Ring of Honor, New Japan, or whatever, best of luck to them, honestly. Kushida's going there. There are others that are going there. But WWE needs to stop signing so many people to just hold on to them so other companies can't have them, because all it's going to do is be an overcrowded lifeboat, be an overcrowded cruise ship. It's going to poke holes. It's going to fracture the foundation. Everything's going to sink. And then Vince is going to look like, well, what happened? Like that they wanted us to sign everybody. This is where I'm going to come in and like basically say that listening to the fans isn't always the best thing. Sometimes the fans know what they want. I admit that there are plenty of times as a fan I want certain things and I know it wouldn't actually work. I see potential in some people that others don't. But that's what being a fan is about. But I can see, just as an outsider looking in, WWE, while making record profits, made almost $1 billion fucking dollars this past year. Almost $1 billion, like 930 something million. And part of the reason is because, they got all these network deals, these TV contracts. Mania does well. Saudi Arabia's got their blood money pouring in. The Saudi Arabia government blood money, by the way, not the citizens. Feel bad for the citizens, the ones that actually are humane and aren't, backwards thinking people. But the problem is WWE may have record profits now. It's short-sighted. I'm not saying that WWE is going to die. I'm not saying that. I'm not going to be stupid. But don't tell me that everything is a bed of roses in WWE. Yes, the takeovers usually generally are pretty good. NXT's even got its problems. 205 Live, I mentioned those. NXT UK's got its problems getting off the ground because apparently they can't draw more than half a crowd to a lot of these venues that they're taping. The UK, they're taping the UK shows in. Rumors, I don't know if it's true. Raw, SmackDown aren't even actually sold out. I think the last one that we went to, myself and my two best friends, Terminator and Cassie, Chris and Cassie, we enjoyed it, and it was mostly sold out. There were empty seats, but it was mostly sold out. And then, but there are so many times where you see how it's like half full, 60% full, that kind of stuff. And that's not good. If WWE keeps presenting this product of like, hey, we're going to hoard everybody and we're not going to use them, but we just want to keep everybody away from other competition, it's not going to devalue the wrestlers once they leave. It's just going to devalue them while they're in the company, so the fans aren't going to give a shit, except for a niche few. And that's just going to hurt them. It's not going to hurt the competition as much as it's going to hurt WWE. Yes, the competition could probably want to use these talents, and should want to use these talents. But WWE is only hurting themselves in the end, and if they don't stop hurting themselves, it is eventually going to cost them. It's going to cost them dearly. If Vince McMahon doesn't give a little more power up and everything, and while I don't think Triple H is the visionary that everybody thinks he is, I think he's got his finger on the pulse a little bit more than Vince. But then again, it's not hard to really have your finger on the pulse of, wrestling, modern wrestling, a little more than Vince. They are going to have problems. And it's going to become a bloodbath. It's going to get brutal. More people are going to want their releases. And if their contracts are up and they don't re-sign, and WWE doesn't let them go, it's going to breed more contempt, and more people aren't going to want to sign with them. Because they're going to, some might think, oh, well, it's not going to happen to me. It's just going to happen to my friends. And then they find out it happens to them after they're held under contract for a while. Yes, not everybody can be a main eventer. Not everybody is going to be a champion. Some are going to be jobbers here in WWE. Some are going to be jobbers in this company. Some are going to be jobbers in the indies and be used well in WWE. Vice versa. Some are going to be stars in Japan. And some are going to be used badly in WWE. It's no guarantee. There's no set template or any of this kind of stuff about how people are going to be used from company to company. They can get over in some areas and not. Sometimes there are wrestlers back in the territory days that got over in one company, didn't get over at all in another company. Very few can transcend that kind of stuff, even in modern wrestling. But if WWE does not work on this and realize that they don't trim the fat, and not calling any of these wrestlers fat, but saying like, oh, they're expendable. If they don't get rid of some people, they're just not fucking using. Yes, it's a grueling schedule. WWE probably needs to have a rotating off season for some talents. And maybe cut down a little bit on having house shows the same night as Raw and SmackDown so you don't kill your own TV ratings. They need to come up with a different structure. Otherwise, it's going to poke more holes in the cruise ship that is WWE. It is going to sink it, and there's going to be no way to save it. I don't want to be right about this. I hope I'm just being cynical. WWE will continue to make record profits for a number of years, but once this USA TV deal is up, I think it kicked in February. Once it's up in 5 years, so 2024. If the Fox deal works out and they get good enough ratings and everything, and that works out for 5 years, sure, it guarantees them a lot of money. But then what? If they don't plan for the future and they just think in the now, and I'm not saying, okay, hey, we need to plan stuff out 3 years in advance, but if they don't plan for the future, they don't do this kind of stuff, it's going to get bad. That's what I have to say. What do you have to say? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I will see you soon.